Welcome back to the Podcasting Problem Solver. I'm Leah Bryant, and this is part 2 of our bonus series this week. If you haven't listened to part 1, please go back and do so. Tasha and Brandon built this whole foundation there, and you're really going to want to go hear it. If you're all caught up, today is where it all gets practical. We're getting into the tool that holds everything together that we talked about in part 1 and who this is really for. And by the end, Tasha and Brandon have something coming up that I really want you to hear about. So let's get into it. I would love to talk about the tool that you use to hold all of this, because this is also a part of the process that I think that people underestimate.
Yeah.
Vision boards. And I know that that phrase is going to land very differently depending on who's listening and also who you're talking to, because some people are either all in. You have some people who are quietly skeptical, and I would love it if you could talk to them like beyond the, magazine collage version that we all grew up with. How do you think about the vision board and what it's doing?
So I also, when I hear the term vision board, cringe a little on the inside because of the early 2000s introduction that I got to them. The craft project that never ends. There's stacks of magazines half cut up in the corner.
Yeah.
For a lot of people that I knew at the time who were doing them, it was looked at for about 3 weeks and then it kind of fell behind a desk or it fell behind and got dust on it and never looked at it again. So it makes sense to me that the word vision board is like a little tweaky for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Or people feel a lot of pressure with vision boards, which is what my experience was for the most part before I kind of revisited the idea and the intention of what it's supposed to be doing. I just ask that you be open to it turning into a tool that you use to carry you through the swamp, essentially. A tool that keeps you focused on, as cheesy as it sounds, your North Star. It keeps you focused on getting to the other side of the swamp. And for me, that's what it's become. Over the years, I've done a lot of research on neuroscience just for my own recovery. And what I've learned about the brain and how human behavior works is that the more familiar we are with something, the more our eyes, our ears, even our smell, all of our senses, the more sensory familiarity we have to something, the less activated we get. So we don't have a stress response. We don't freak out. We don't shut down. We don't go into panic mode when something's familiar. When you think about goals, which is what the vision board is intended to represent, a visual of where you want to go and the things you want and the experiences you want to have. If you're looking at this vision board and it's goals and it's beyond where you are, everything's unfamiliar. So a lot of the time it's going to activate stress response. And for me, who was already living in a chronically dysregulated state of being, high achievers who are hyper-productivity based people pleasers, it immediately went from ambition and excitement and enthusiasm within a day or two of designing them to pressure and anxiety. And when I redid the whole thing for myself, okay, not even thinking I was creating a vision board, it's just I need to be reminded of what I want so that I can start practicing being someone who doesn't abandon myself for the expectations and the obligations that Brandon was talking about. And so the vision boards became a representation not of just of where I'm going in the near future, because that's the other part. You don't need to have vision boards for something that's 10 times further from where you are, because that's too activating for most of us when it comes to nervous systems. It also needs to serve as a day-to-day practice of supporting the skills, habits, environment that I want to have, supporting the thoughts that I need to rewire. So if you have a limiting belief, like I'm scared of disappointing people, I'm scared of disappointing my parents, an example would be on your vision board, having something that says, it's safe to disappoint everyone but myself, or something along those lines. And the wording is important because it needs to resonate with you. It needs to be in your own language. Some of our clients who do vision boards in our workshop have sassier language, which is great because it needs to speak to how your internal thoughts actually happen. But the intention is for the vision board to be essentially a guardrail for those of us with ADHD, right? The guardrail keeps us focused on the things we have prioritized rather than 85 different ideas that we have along the way. And also a pep rally for your inner child. You know, the 6-year-old, the 12-year-old, the 17-year-old who was told you're too much, you're too big, you need to perform, you need to be productive, you need to be useful in order for us to give you support. That's where that overachiever was born. That's where we learn to prioritize the expectations and obligations and the rules of the outside world rather than what is our inner guidance guiding us to. When we are reminded every day throughout the day that I don't want to abandon myself more than I don't want to do anything else, more than I want to not disappoint somebody else, it becomes normal and familiar. And achieving your goals just becomes inevitable because you're essentially training yourself to be the version of you who already has those things through the visual component, using them as a tool of like intentionally looking at them, reading the language you have on there, helping your nervous system feel safe in those experiences. And there's multiple layers of how to actually integrate that concept into your day-to-day life. But just having the visual reminders, actually, I was thinking, I shared in our stories today, I was in the bath last night doing some down regulation before bed. And I was watching a great interview with Amy Poehler and Kerry Washington having a really good conversation. And literally within 35 minutes of this episode, 7 ads came through YouTube. Okay, fine. That's my price that I have to pay if I am not going to be paying for YouTube, right?
Right.
But 5 of those ads were promoting a product that is basically telling me your skin sucks. You should buy this lotion because you're ugly and old. Okay. And it wasn't using those words, but that's the subliminal message that it's saying 5 times in 35 minutes, definitely targeted to the women who are watching this episode. And I was so angry because of how often we are promoted and shown somebody else's goals for our lives, somebody else's expectations. You shouldn't look like you're 46. I'm projecting with myself, right? Like that's the message I was supposed to get. You should be careful not to have these brown spots on your skin because you're aging. And I was like, I'll be damned if I am going to let somebody else tell me how I'm going to show up in my day-to-day life. And this is one of the things that I discovered a long time ago, but it's just a really good example of if I don't have my own promotional ads in my space telling me, promoting my goals and my beliefs to me, then they're winning. And I'm not going to say all the cuss words that come to mind when I am thinking about how often and how awful the people are that are in charge of these companies and these billion-dollar corporations that are informing how we think subliminally. And so this is my effort to combat that. I'm going to win my mind. I'm going to win my life. I've already lost years that I can't get back. Vision boards for me are a way for me to campaign to myself, my own goals, my own vision, the meaningful impact I want to have, the lifestyle I want to provide for my family, the relationship I want to have with Brandon, the creativity that I deserve to experience, the joy and fun and the adventure, all of that. And so that is that is the passion I have for vision boards being reinvented as a tool to hack your brain, to not abandon yourself, and to really make sure that when you're 120 years old, living on your deathbed, looking back at your life, you're thinking, left nothing on the table. The whole thing was just me living my full life.
Yes. And I've worked hard for these 46-year-old dark spots. Thank you very much. I don't want to get rid of them. I don't want to get rid of them. Yes. Now, I do have a question. And you don't have to go super in the weeds, but I would love like a high-level example of how someone could potentially use the vision board day to day. Because I think maybe this is a selfish question because I think that building it is one thing, but the maintenance and like using it is where I'm going to say most people, but really Leah is going to lose it and like is going to end up on a shelf collecting dust and not being utilized.
So I'm going to tell you to stop treating it as this precious thing and use it as a tool. And so like when I print my vision boards out, I also print postcard sizes and I fold it up and I put it in my wallet.
I love
And
that.
we have them literally all over our house. So because of the fact that the way Tasha teaches people in our workshop to create vision boards, it's a digital experience so that you can print more than one. So it's not old school killing lots of trees, using lots of magazines. And so print more than one and then put them places that you naturally interact with, that your eyes naturally fall. And so you will run into times where it collects dust somewhere, but it can't collect dust in 7 different places.
Right.
And you are in more places more often than you are in others. And so be a student of yourself. Like I make tea all day long. And so we have vision boards by where we do that. And we have vision boards in our room. So when we're waking up, it's literally the first thing you see when you open your eyes in our bed. And so it's a tool, not this precious shrine. And if you can get your brain wrapped around how do I use tools, you're not gentle with them. And it's okay that you bang them around, and it's okay that they're marked up and malleable. Like, we had vision boards that we took across the country with us. And as we hit things that were on the vision board, we physically on the vision board, like, checked it off because it wasn't so precious that it became, we were afraid to touch it, use it, interact with it.
Yeah.
I would just say if you have vision boards, put one at your bathroom mirror where you brush your teeth. Put one, like Brandon said, at your coffee tea station, because you're both in those places for 2 or 3 minutes waiting for the thing to finish, right? Even if you do nothing else, you use those 2 places to be intentional about looking at it, feeling it, using, the millions of different nervous system regulation practices that are available all over the place, but how to just pay attention to that vision, the words, the images, the experiences, the feelings, the whole thing. Just those 2 places, you're going to see substantial change in your day-to-day decision-making to become the version of yourself who is prepared for those goals.
I love that too, because time, energy, consistency. I say this to podcasters constantly. I'm just going to use this as an example. It's not one perfect episode that builds the show. It's a focused, repeatable showing up over time. So it's kind of like the same principle that you're describing that we're going to apply here, right? So the vision board keeps you essentially from drifting. It's like you said earlier, not to be cliche. It's like that North Star that helps you, right? So let's talk about who this could be for. Who does this work for best? Paint me a picture of the person who really needs what you're describing. Obviously, we talked about a lot about high achievers, but other than high achievers, who could potentially benefit from this?
So the people that we see need this the most, that really benefit from that extra support of having that direction day in and day out, are the people that have really complicated, complex, multi-layered lives, right? Those of us with ADHD or autistic brains, or we have a couple clients that use this tool regularly that have TBI, so a brain injury, people with chronic illness. I know you and I shared that.
Yeah.
When you have a brain fog day or a week and you come out of it, having something that tells you exactly where to start back up again to move towards your goals is such an energy saver, and it allows you to actually build consistency. People who are looking around at this world going, what is happening? What is happening? It's so overwhelming, and it's designed that way. And so when you live in this world and you have a big heart and you genuinely care about the well-being of people globally, your brain is trying to figure out how to make sense of those things. It's trying to figure out, what can I do? How can I contribute? How can I be part of the solution? How do I avoid being part of the problem? And those people who are so human connected, who have multiple layers of things they're worrying about, parenting, making sure they're supporting their kids through this chaotic time, their clients through this chaotic time, those people have multiple plates, like Brandon was saying earlier. They're spinning so many plates.
Yeah.
This helps those people come back to themselves rather than getting swallowed up by all the demands and the responsibilities that understandably weigh heavy on them and are real. They have real consequences if you're not taking care of those things. A lot of the things that our community is dealing with, you can't just take off your plate. You get told, just say no. I'm not saying no to my kid when he has a flare up. I'm not saying no to being part of calling representatives when things need to change, right? So we have to be able to say yes to the things that are important to us, but we also need to make sure that we don't lose ourselves. And it's those people that have those complexities that this is so, so important for.
I love that so much. What do you think is the story that people tell themselves that stop them from doing this? They're like, oh, no, I don't need a vision board. I'm fine the way that it is. Everything is fine. What do you think that is?
Brandon's the perfect one to answer that.
We talked about this on a live, I think earlier this week or last. And when you're fed the line over and over and over again, that the way in which you get more is by working harder and doing more. After a while, well, what do I need to worry about where or how it's coming from? Because I know I'm just going to keep working harder. For me, that's exactly what it was. I'm like, I don't need to think about goals. I just need to figure out how to pack more hours into a day and do more stuff in every hour. And And then once I do that, then the things will happen because like all of that work translates into money. And once you have enough money, then you can buy whatever you want. And then ultimately you get to retire.
Yeah.
And so I think to answer your question, like the mindset that keeps people from saying yes to a vision board, that keeps people from saying yes to going on this journey is perfectionism. It's, I'm going to do more. I'm going to be the person that answers all the questions because I'm the one with all the knowledge. I'm going to be the one that's the person to get the thing done, like we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
And when you live like that for so long, you are so consumed with the fact that it needs to go well rather than what's actually going that, well, I don't have time to make a vision board because I got to get back to work because I need to put more hours in today so I can make more money so I can buy more stuff. And that's where I think that gets tripped up is that perfectionism just gets into everything. And then we spend so much time working so hard for other people's goals that we don't have time for our own.
Yep. I think too, though, it could be guilt. I'm maybe speaking from personal experience because as a high achiever, right? Like you're taking the time to ask, well, what do I want? Like what I want feels almost indulgent, right? Or it's not, maybe not strategic enough to ask.
Well, I would challenge your listeners to take that even a step further. If anybody that is listening to this has ever made a vision board, either look at them again or think back on them and how many things that were on there did you really, really want that were really yours?
Yes.
I also would challenge the belief that it's mutually exclusive. What you want is exclusive from what other people want. Because in my experience, the more I've done what I needed to do, the better literally everybody around me becomes.
Yes.
So putting in the time and effort to commit to these few hours, I didn't abandon myself in those moments. It inspired other people to take that same inspiration. It also made me a better partner. It made me a better mom. So this belief that like if I'm a mom, I can't take these couple hours to do this. I don't have the time or I shouldn't spend the time on this.
Right.
I am significantly a better mom from having done this work over the years than I was when I was doing it, honestly, the old way and still operating from that chronic dysregulation of hyperproductivity, do the most, do more. And my kids will tell you that. They can tell you at 16 and 19, I'm better and they feel safer in our relationship. They feel more supported. They feel more seen because I'm showing up as a truer version of myself, which is what ultimately this is all about. The bold to becoming you aspect of our brand
Yeah.
is that the truer version of you that comes from not discounting the tool that supports you every day for the next 6 to 12 months is such a simple thing. And I think that's also part of the perfectionism is it seems too
Yeah.
easy. It probably doesn't work because it's too easy. Time-wise, it doesn't feel like it, but the actual work of doing it and creating it, it's too simple that it can't work. It doesn't feel hard enough.
I would love to know, is there a moment that sticks with you from someone you've worked with, something that reminded you exactly why this matters? Obviously, anonymous is fine, right? Just like something real and tangible that you could share with us.
So, I mean, we both could tell you dozens of stories, but one I think that we both come to pretty frequently. We started working with a client about almost 6 years ago, and she was in the hyperproductivity based mode, just really busting her butt. She's a freelance writer. She's an incredible writer, has had national bylines multiple times, but she had a teenage son, the same age as our oldest, and he was really struggling in school for a lot of reasons. Living in the South, being a Black boy, she was parenting in a really tough state while also trying to run her household, being the social manager, the emotional manager, and manage her own health. She has heart issues. And being able to see her take these concepts and come back to herself over and over and over again over the last 4 years, 5 years, because she's taken this workshop several times because she keeps building towards the next version. Her son, who was in real danger a couple of years ago, is now at college thriving.
Love that.
Like not just having a good time, thriving, hitting goals that they could not have imagined a couple of years ago. She is in the process of writing her first New York Times bestseller because that's what she's vision boarding and putting together. She's
I love
putting the
it.
boundaries in place. She's created an opportunity for herself to have a job that she actually could never have imagined 5 years ago that she wanted or that she could have, now she's like, this is so easy. I don't even know if I want this anymore. She's become a version of herself that is so courageous and so self-respectful and so self-trusting that she has had a huge impact on her local community as a result as well. She invests in other artists and other creatives. She stands up for what she believes in. She empowers the people in her life. And she's had to go through some pretty big tragedies over the last 5 years. And in all of that, she didn't lose herself. She kept coming back to herself, and she stands proudly today, taking care of herself, having entire Sundays all to herself to take care of herself, doing what she wants, doing work that matters to her, building towards a vision and a dream that she is excited about and energized by, while also having stronger relationships than she's ever had. So I think that's probably one of our favorite stories that we get to witness and feel so grateful we get to see and support.
Oh, what a testament to your work. I love it so much. Last question for the person who is sitting here saying, oh my gosh, yes, please, and thank you. More. I need more. I want to go deeper. I need to know all the things. I know that you have something coming up that might help them. I would love for you to share it with our audience.
So the Boldly Becoming You workshop is coming up on April 24th and 25th. And it is a 2-part event, Saturday and Sunday mornings, at least on the West Coast. And I walk you through this process of getting clear about what you want, what your complex life circumstances are, what are the multiple layers of complexity that you have, where are your specific stress response patterns, where is your perfectionism showing up in day-to-day life now, in these little micro moments that you can't always identify, that you don't always notice until someone has the time and gives you the space to pause, to reflect without judgment, and walk them through this nervous system regulation every half an hour or so throughout the workshop to bring you back to you so that you can really get clear on what you want, who you want to become, and the version of you that has those things, not because you work so hard and you collapsed as you cross the finish line, but because it's just the natural consequence of developing the skills, the habits, and creating the environment that is non-negotiable for you to have that. And this event, by the end of day 2, you walk out of the event virtually with vision boards that are completed. And so you have the foundation for what you can use to support yourself for the next 6 to 12 months, depending on where you set your goals for, just from these 2 days with me and the other students in the workshop. And I'm there with you to really help dig deeper, ask you deeper questions. We have the ongoing chat where you can share what you've come up with or what's coming up for you. And I give you direct feedback right away. So it's really a pretty intensive in terms of direct customization process that people walk out of. They come to the workshop, I think, hopeful, but also a little hesitant. And by the end of day 2, the messages are always so much relief because they realize they don't have to do it how they've always done it. And they can see the literal step-by-step process that they're going to take to become the version of themselves. And they are excited and energized and not anxious and ready to do those things because it's so plainly written out. It's very practical. I'm very practical when it comes to these kinds of things, and using the neuroscience of how people function and what they work and our own framework that we've been helping with clients with for 6 years to walk them through this process. Is there anything I left out?
The thing that I want to really make sure that everybody hears is your goals are not a finite moment. They are a thing you want that fits into a larger life, your life, and whatever you have going on right now. And then you set a goal. Those 2 things, in order for you to feel successful and complete, need to be married. We can't pretend that you don't have a chronic illness. We can't pretend you don't have a cycle. We can't pretend you're not in perimenopause. We can't pretend you don't have kids or a partner or bills. We can't pretend all of those things don't exist and just be like, well, for the next 6 months, I'm putting my head down. I'm just going to get this goal. Yeah. Everything is going to fall apart if that's the way in which you work through trying to achieve goals. Either you're not going to get the goal and it's going to beat you up internally, emotionally, physically, all of it. And then also your relationships suffer, or you focus only on your relationships because they're so loud and so important that you forget the goal exists at all. And the thing that Tasha works through the workshop with everyone is integrating the 2 things. Because this is, and all the work we do and everything we work with our clients, it is about your entire life. We do not live in the cookie cutter, neat, compartmentalized existence that everybody wants you to believe that you do. And making sure that we bring those things to the surface helps us actually achieve our goals faster because we're taking them into account as opposed to hoping it doesn't go wrong or hoping somebody doesn't get sick or hoping your cycle doesn't actually impact every single part of your every single day differently every week of the month. Like,
Right.
that's a big deal.
Yep.
And so this workshop is about your entire life. And let's also make sure that the goals that you have fit into it so that you can have all of it.
Oh my gosh. Yes, please and thank you. And I really appreciate you taking the time out today to come chat with us and to tell us all about vision boards and learn about your workshop and just learn about more about you and what you do. I just really appreciate you being here and grateful for that.
Oh, Leah, thank you so much. We really appreciate you having us on and sharing this work that we're so passionate about and being able to have this conversation with you.
This is a lot of fun. Thank you.
And for everyone listening, if this stirred something in you, go sign up for the workshop. Please do. I will put all those links down below. Oh, and before I forget, where can they find you guys on Instagram?
Rules and Rebellion.
Perfect. I will also put that down below. So, all right, everyone, remember, keep your podcast purposeful, keep showing up for what you actually want, and keep your growth seamless, and I'll see you next time.